Hi everyone, you welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah. On today's video, we'll be sewing this beautiful jacket. I drop a link below in the comment section on how to draft and cut the jacket. And if you want to put a welt pocket on your jacket, I have a detailed video on how to do that. So guys, let's get into it. So this video will be showing this blazers. I've gone ahead to come stay to my fabric. Now we'll go and sew the center backs together. This is my center back. I will sew on 1/2 inches and I'll give this a good press. I'm through with the sewing of the center backs. You can see how it looks. When sewing, you have to sew from the hem of the blazers. Now the next I have to do is to join the side back and the center back together. I'll go to the machine. I'll be joining the blazers from the hem on 1/2 inches. I'll pin this down. I'll do this to the armhole. Yeah, the princess dart. It's a princess dart we did on the back and the front of these blazers. That's what I'll do. Now, when I get to this side here that has curve, I will just curve it to the top of the blazers here on the armhole. Now I'll do the same thing also on this side of the back. Then I will give it a good press. I have to join the front piece together to the side front. I'll go and join this on the hem. You start to join from the hem of your blazers. I will do this and show you what it looks like when I'm done. I'm through with the joining of the side front and the center fronts together, and I've given it a good press. I've done the same thing for the other side of the front also. And for the back also, I've pressed my seams open. I've done the same thing also on the lining, and this is my lining piece. Now the next we have to do is to join the lining and the main fabric together at the hem. I will make sure the joining we have at the center for back is together like this. I'll pin down. I'll make sure the joinings are together this way and pin down. Here also the joining has to be together like this and pin down. So now I'll go to the machine. I'll be sewing on 1/2 inches on the hem of the jacket from here to the other end of the jacket. I'm through with the sewing of the back hem and I've given it a good press. You can see how it looks. Now I'll keep the back bodies aside to work on the front. So for the front, the first thing I have to do is to turn the hem of my front blazers on 1/2 inches. First, you pin down the joining you have on the front this way down. So now where I'm pinning down, that's where I will go and sew on 1/2 inches and give it a good press. I'm through with the sewing of the front of the jacket and I've given it a good press. After pressing it now, I will sew the place that has the lapel on 1/2 inches. I'll pin down. I'll go and sew here from the hem here. I will sew on 1/2 inches to the up of my blazers here and I will stop. Then I will give it a good press. I'm done pressing the front of the jacket. You can see how neatly finished it is. This is it. Now the next we have to do is to join the jacket on the shoulder, fabric to fabric first. You do fabric to fabric, then lining to lining. So now this is how we'll do this. I'll go to the machine. I will sew on 1/2 inches fabric to fabric. So now I'll go and sew the fabric to fabric first, then I will tell you what to do next. I'm through with the joining of the fabric to fabric and I've pressed my seams open. Now we'll join lining to lining. So now for the lining to lining, you flip it to the back this way. You can see the way I flip it. Now pin this down. Guys, let's do it again on this other shoulder so you can see what I did. This is the lining for the back, the lining for the front. You can see how it is. Now you just make sure you flip the lining this way. You can see you bring it this way and pick it up like this. Now pin this down also. So now I'll go and sew this down on 1/2 inches. I'm through with the sewing of the lining to lining and I've pressed my seams open. You can see how the shoulder looks now. So now the next we have to do is to join the jacket fabric to fabric. You join fabric to fabric, lining to lining on 1 inches. You know it's 1 inches we added for seam allowance. So before you do that, you have to launch the hem of your jacket this way. You can see the way I launch it. Now make sure the launch are together like this. Now go and join fabric to fabric straight to the armhole. Then I'll do the same thing also on the lining to lining, straight down to the armhole on 1 inches. I'll do this and show you what it looks like. I'm through with the joining and I've pressed the seams open. I just want to show you what it looks like inside. Then I'll do the same thing also on the other side. I'm through with the joining of the sides, the fabric to fabric, lining to lining. You can see how neatly it sits inside. Then on this side of the front, we use 1.5 for the button allowance and I'll add half inches for seam allowance. You don't have to add half inches for your seam allowance on the center front here, so your buttonhole will not be more than 1 inches after sewing. I've gone ahead to trim mine out. You can do the same thing also. Now we'll keep the bodice aside and work on the collar. So for my collar now, where I'm pinning down here, that's where I will sew from, like this, straight down to this other side here, and I will give it a good press. I'm through with the sewing of my collar and I've given it a good press. I sew from this end here to the other end, and you can see I didn't sew this place. You'll be sewing it to the main fabric. So now I'll bring my blazers in this way. Then you make sure you launch the center of your collar. So now after launching the center of your collar, you match it up to the center back this way, and I'll pin down. Now you'll be pinning the collar to the main fabric, not with the lining, just the main fabric. And you make sure where you put stay, that's where you put up. Then this other side will be the lining. Now pin down. Before you fixing your collar, this place that is like L in the front here, you make sure you launch it like half inches in. Launch it this way. So after launching this place that is like L, you start pinning the launch you have on your collar with the center back will be together this way, and I'll pin down. After pinning, you check what you have left from here. We have 2 inches. Then you check the other side also. It must be the same thing. You have 2 inches also. Now to sew it together, you come in through your armhole this way and bring the main fabric and the lining together. Then you bring it out from the armhole this way, and now you'll be sewing the main fabric and the lining together. The collar will be in between. I will sew it from this end of the lapel here to the other end of the lapel. I'm through with the fixing of the collar. You can see how pretty it's sitting. Now keep the bodice aside to work on the sleeve. So now to work on the sleeve, the first you have to do is to pin your sleeve down. Where I'm pinning down, that is where I will go and sew on half inches. I will sew this sleeve to the up here on half inches, and after sewing, I will join the sleeves together on the sides on 1 inches, and I will give my seams a good press. I'm done with the sewing. You can see how it looks, and I've pressed my seams open. Here I've pressed the joining I have on the sides also open, and I've done the same thing also on the lining. Now this is my lining. Now you turn the main fabric to the front, then the lining you leave it the way it is, the back, like this, passing the main fabric inside the lining this way. So after passing it, now the next you have to do is to make sure the joinings are together like this. You open your seams this way. You can see the way I did mine. Then you make sure the joining at this side also is together. So now I'll go and sew around the sleeve. I'll do this for this sleeve and the other sleeve, and I will show you what it looks like. So I'm done sewing the sleeve and the lining together. You can see the way I fold the lining at the edge so it will not be bulky. That's what you do. You fold it this way so that it will not be bulky when you turn it to the front. So now the way we turn it, you open it this way and you push the lining in. we have to join the sleeve to the main bodice. So now the joining at the side of my sleeve will be facing the joining at the side of the jacket this way, and I'll pin down. I'll join fabric to fabric like this first. You do fabric to fabric first, then the next you do is lining to lining. Now you flip it to the side, to the inside this way, and you make sure the joining at the shoulder with the launch you have on the center of your sleeve are together like this. So now I'll go and sew it down, fabric to fabric, lining to lining. Through the sewing of the sleeve, the fabric to fabric, now you bring out the lining. We're doing lining to lining. Please make sure you launch the center of your sleeve for the lining. So now I'll bring the side of my blazers and the side of the sleeve together this way. You pin down like this, then you come from this other shoulder here, and I will draw it out this way. Okay, the side of the sleeve and the side of the blazers will be together this way, and I'll pin down. I'll go and sew on 1/2 inches down to the shoulder here and stop. After sewing this place, and I'll sew the other side, and I will show you what it looks like. I'm through with the sewing of the sleeve. You can see how neatly finished it looks inside. Now the next we have to do is to sew the other sleeve. For this, you make sure the joining of the jacket at the side is together with the joining of the sleeve, and you pin down. Now you put your hand inside this way, then you flip it to the back this way. This is how it will look now. Now the center of my sleeve is together this way. I'll pin this down. So now I'll go and sew round the armhole, and I will tell you what to do next when I'm done. I'm through with the joining of fabric to fabric. Now to get that neat finishing, from the joining at the side of your lining on the sleeve, you open the seam. So now open up my seam this way. My hand will go through here this way like this. Then I'll bring the side of my sleeve and the side of the jacket together like this, and I will bring it out from here, from the side of the bodice and the side of the sleeve, this together this way. Okay, now this is the center of my sleeve and the center of the shoulder of the lining. So now I'll go and sew from the sides here to the shoulder here on 1/2 inches. After doing this, I will adjust the other side also, so I can be able to sew this other side. Now do that and show you what it looks like when I'm done. I'm through with the sewing of the sleeve, the lining. Now we have to close back this place so we get that neat finishing. So I'll use my hand needle to tack this, and I will display it on my dress form for you to see. I'm through with the untacking of the sleeve. I've closed the seams back. Thank you, and thank you very much for watching to the end. Now the next you have to do is just fixing your button and your buttonhole. We're done. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you all. I'll be seeing you on the next one. God bless you.